Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So just a couple of housekeeping measures here.
We just need to get the ladder going here on the webinar. It still didn't start up yet. Looking for a 45-degree angle on the ergs. We have that in the 5 minutes. Still within actually greater than a 10-point range.
Yeah, our ladder's a little bit thinner again here today, almost reminiscent of last week. A little bit of housekeeping measures here in terms of our scalps here today. They're greater than the 10-point range, but we will look, as we did through the half of yesterday, or maybe a little more than that, we'll look for the 3-minute ergodics to be in agreement with our scalps. Add that extra layer of cycle there. In terms of our setup 10s, yesterday and the last little bit, we did get impacted by the 3 minutes turning against us. Oftentimes with the setup 10, we see the 3-minute turning having the 3-minute effect, pulls it back to three odd points, but then it moves ahead in the direction of the setup 10. Certainly yesterday we saw that not hold true. So we will look for ideally the 3 minutes to be in agreement with the setup 10. And if we do see the 3 minutes starting to turn while we are in a setup 10, that will be reason to either not get into the setup 10, or if we are in the setup 10 to look to exit that particular setup 10. And I think that's the housekeeping measures here to start with. 5 minutes are up. Our B bias is down, as is our A and C.
Volume E starting to come in.
We do need a 3 minutes, though, to be in agreement, and they are not.
Nice C bias.
E, C.
Still 5 points off our low of the morning. Looks like we're be making a move down towards there.
Looks like, yeah.
Broken that consolidation support level at 26.75.
Volume E is moving in that direction, certainly with a little bit of effort. And our 3 minutes have turned red after that last replot at 10:03. That top one is flashing flat, so we'll need to see in terms of this pullback, but as long as we have some angle there in terms of the agreement of the 3 minutes, we'll look for a scalp downward as possible. And nothing on the base 5 upward, but those 5-minute ergodics A, B, and C are all angled down. 10 minutes are conflicted. E spiking down, EK spiking with the F. Did get an arrow there, just in terms of that scalp touching on. Well, we are greater than 10-point range, are we, Greg? Yes.
Yeah, we are.
So looking for 3 ticks on the scalp here on that EK. I just filled the 3 ticks there on that EK scalp with the 3 minutes in agreement. Continuing to drop here a little bit further toward the 21.75, it looks like is the low. So within 2 points of that. Looks like we might have 45 degrees on our 3-minute ergodics now. We're very close to it on that top one. Right, maybe off just slightly.
5 minutes, just plot another candlestick. B bias still down, A bias down. Could get into a 3B soon. That top 3 erg flickering.
It looks like it's coming into 45 degrees now. Did have another drop and another pullback here, so we're looking for this possibly as a pullback for that 3B, 3C.
It did come down on that last drop to hit the low of our morning, which we mentioned a few moments ago could very possibly happen.
So looking for a red arrow. So our 1 minute starting to turn down as well. There's a red arrow. Again, in this case here, greater than 10-point range, a 1-point target for our base 3. Certainly, if we can move through that level, I will look to lock in the 1 point. Lost our C bias there, but our B is still there. A is still there. Got a 2-point stop is right at 24, which we're coming up to now. I've got it back 2.5. In fact, we may even need to put it back a little bit further just with that other point of resistance. Back up to 25. Looks like we are bouncing up here substantially.
Yeah, we have strong volume EK come in.
Yeah, 25. 25 looks like it's right on the point of support. So should need to put it back even. I'm getting into greater than a 3-point stop here, which we want to avoid.
The volatility of the markets the last week and a half has been you get bigger ranges.
I just got taken out there. Yeah, the ladder has gotten as thin as it was, or close to as thin as it was there the other day, or the other week, last week.
Starting to turn back down. We may get, well, the 3 isn't quite 45 now. Pull back a 0.75.
Yeah, pull back actually 4 points there.
Or I mean to the downside. Yeah, you're right. The bigger thing, it pulled back almost 5 points,
Yeah.
and then just dropped a 1.25.
Strong volume, strong E, 1 minute's turning, a strong F. Those were the motivators there on that. We still have a scalp downward at any rate. That top 3 minute looks like it's flashing off at 45 degrees. Don't have any scalp on that sell arrow, though I think this is going to move down here. See if we can see a scalp that comes in, and that top 3 minute came off of 45 degrees. Volume E, and here's this drop right back down again here. And of course the 3 minutes are off there, agreeable in terms of our scalp downward volume E, but we don't have the tick and we don't have the F. And now the market did come down, even almost back to the original break even, and then bounced 3 points off of it again. So some volatility here. No, we don't have anything here. Our 3 minutes have gone conflicted. 10s, 5s, and 3s are all conflicted here. So nothing in the bigger charts here. We are moving quite a lot here in terms of our predominantly scalp charts up against the 3 minute and 5 minute downward trend line. Let's see if this is a bounce point. We did hit 27.75, which was a turnaround spot there earlier this morning in the tick chart. Look for those 3 minutes to come back to red. See our 3 minutes come back to red. Let's see if there is a scalp in the downward direction here. Some angle on that top 3 minute. No clarity in our scalp charts here at the moment.
As you say, things are moving quickly. We've had over 1 million contracts traded already today. Overnight, we've had a nice range between 1914 and 1966. That's 50 points. Nice E-bias spiking down. Nothing to pair with it at the moment. The 3s are both red. Shorter term tick, F, and L are pointing up.
Our E spiking down. Let's see if our K separates here for an EK downward. We will need to see the tick as well come back into this. Seeing a signal in our, or look for a signal in our tick chart. So our volume's starting to turn here. Keep an eye on that top 3 minute. It may be coming close to 45 degrees again. One's turning red, at least one of them. E starting to spike down. And we're actually having an EK spike upward here. Nothing to consider on that without the 3 minutes in agreement. Three minutes have plotted nicer. 5 minutes, 10 minutes still conflicted. Right up against the 3 and the 5 minute downward trend line here still. Still a lot of energy, it looks like, in our smaller charts.
Coming up to our point of resistance, near 28. I did break the 3-minute trend line, 5-minute trend line. If we can break this 28 mark, we may head back up to 33, 34 area.
We had our 1 minute starting to turn red, and they quickly angled up sharply here at the top of their range. With the volumes, with the tick turning, all of our biases in the D, E, and F now moving into red, either moving into red or sharply in, moving into green or sharply in green. And at the moment, it looks like this market is moving solely on our scalps. Let's see when these 3 minutes, maybe if they turn and overlap with our apparent movement upward here, momentum upward. Looks like our volumes are turning. Still have red
EK coming in.
threes.
K backed off.
Close to a volume E as well. Let's watch for that top volume. It's already come down here a couple of, well, a few points, actually 4 points. And one of our 3 minutes has gone green.
So as we were saying earlier, 10s, 5s, 3s are conflicted. Longer term trending, like to see those in a nice sine wave pattern. At least the 10s. Agreeing ergs with a nice angle to them. It was nice to see the market break out of that 28 mark and move up several points. Didn't have a setup. We are trading within the range we have today, which is a nice 20-point range. If we do close a gap, there's another 20 points to go. So just wait for our setups. Volume's very strong coming down, even coming into a volume D. We'd need that bottom 3 erg to turn red to agree with this. Point of resistance 2675. See that on the 317 on the tick chart, tick price chart. It was the bottom of a short consolidation zone a few minutes ago. E-bias coming in nicely. May have a 1E soon. Still waiting for that bottom 3 erg to turn red to agree with this. Volume E, K separating going down with the F against the tick. D coming in. Then we move down 5-6 points off our recent high. So it's nice to have the movement. We'll just wait for our setups to come in. Still a nice 1 erg coming down, even E. Trading in a tighter range the last couple of minutes. Volumes at the bottom, volume ergs at the bottom, turning green. Shorter consolidation zone, 25-25. Point of resistance tapped through by tick. Still have conflicted 10-5-3 ergs, so longer term trending we need to see the ergs come into nice sine wave patterns. Do see our A and B biases angled down, C is flattened. Just tapping through the tick trend line in a consolidation, coming up to the top of the consolidation, 26.50. Still nothing. Our scalps today, we're just waiting for them to line up with those 3 ergs. We need the 3 ergs in agreement. Interesting, the 1 and volume ergs are a nice sine wave pattern. Ticks are sort of in and out as well, but the 1 and volumes have a nice sine wave, while the 10, 5, and 3 are still conflicted. Just tapping on our top end of our consolidation. Pushing up here, pushed up through our recent point of resistance at 28. Still a thinner ladder. Nice movement. We just wait for our setups to come in. Let some of this energy get out of the market. Get more into trending instead of chaos. DE spiking.
3 minutes have turned green here now, the top one. See a little bit of angle form on that top 3 minute. Maybe starting to.
DE and backed off. They are nice in the green.
We have moved up almost 5 points off of that turnaround there. I'd like to see even a little bit of downward movement here while still maintaining the green 3 minutes. Still don't have the tick information in agreement at any rate. Three minute went red.
Looks a quick spike back up through 30.75.
Yeah. Some real jumpiness here. There's the 3 back to green. I'd like to see with a little bit of angle. We have moved 7 points now off of that turnaround at 25 range.
D spiking in 1D with the 3 agreeing. F spiking.
F spike. We may see
D flattened.
Yeah. Didn't have. That happened very, very quickly. That arrow came in when our ticks were reds and the F was down and then suddenly was up. Let's see if we have another scalp opportunity. See our volumes have now turned and actually angling down with our D and our E. Our C is flattening as well, even though we have our 1 minutes upward. Do have a 1C. And we do need to see the agreement in the F and the tick.
1C, 1D.
A little bit of F spike here now. And not seeing an arrow as of yet. There's an arrow that did come in. On that 1C. We're at this now 9 points off of that high or low. Still with the 1C, still with the 1D. Actually coming into a 3-1 here.
3-1
transition.
3B.
Even 3B. Still pressing it around the break even here. 34 is a point of resistance. B. Now we're going to need to see the ticks come back in again. May have to even wait for those volumes. We're holding this level 32.75. Just tap through that by a tick. And 31.75 is our 2-point stop here. And below that is 30.75, which is 3 points too far to consider. As a pullback, and that was just a quick drop there. It actually took me out at the 2-point there, dropped 3 points actually. We're operating in our extras here now, Greg, just with that last stop out. We're now just down 4.25 points.
Three B may be coming back in, going upwards. The threes have angled up nicely. Just watch that B bias.
Three B, as you say, coming back in again here. Looking for a white arrow. This could move up right through to that 34 again.
EK upwards coming in. K just backed off.
So looking for the white arrow on the 3B. It's already moved up 3 points, 3.5 points. There's an arrow that came in. You might have seen that arrow, Greg, way down below there, but if it moves through this 34 level, my target higher. Tapping on the 33.75, 34. This could move through with a little bit of gusto.
Lost our B bias, and it's pushing through. Can at least lock in some profit.
Yeah. Lock in a point, and
wow.
My goodness, it filled my 3 points there, at least blasted right through it. It hasn't registered on my ladder yet. There it has now. Locked in a point with the loss of the B bias, and then it blasted through on a 3D, actually, came in. So that was a 3-point target that I had set there, and it actually blasted right through that on that 3B in our extras.
It actually tapped on 4.75 points.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the market can shoot up quickly like that.
It just emptied down very thin on the ladder. We do have another 3D, and even a 3C.
Coming very close to the high of our morning. If we can start to close the gap, could get into a bigger jump up. We've been up here several times this morning, and we bounced back off and came back down. So let's see how this develops.
There's an example there, just having your target higher, just in case there is a move like that. We do have the 3C. If we do see a white arrow after that pullback and little consolidation.
Strong red K attack. Let's see if the E comes in to support this going down or if it backs off.
There's an arrow. Again, our support level is at 36. And we may see this move up here again. I'm looking to lock in. 3C has come in nicer here, looking to lock in the 1 point, similar to earlier. Let's see if this can. We see our volumes turning down against us here. Still with our 3C, but we're starting to flicker a little bit on one of the 3-minute ergodics.
Shorter term volume EK going down. We need to wait for that to go through the cycle. Support level at 36. We bounced off here several times.
Stop is at 35.50, half a point below that for the 2 points. Again, our volume's turned here, and tick, that's our culprit for moving down here.
J attack just backed off, the red J attack.
And starting to flatten a bit on our B, and just kind of taking out at the 2 points there, Greg.
That was very quick. I've seen some very quick moves of point even more in a flash. Bigger pullback. Volume E continuing to be strong coming down. Part of this 5-point move down. D, J as well, in that same direction. Tens have been flashing green, the bottom one, on and off the last few minutes. I'd certainly like to see that A bias angle upwards as well too.
Lost our 3 minutes. They're conflicted now. So nothing for us here in terms of our scalps.
Tick half angling up. One E is still down with the tick and the F. You need the three ergs to agree. One DE. A bit of jumpiness here still. Threes are red. We have a 1D going down. Need the tick to agree with this. Could come in very quickly.
We are down 8 points from that 38.25 level.
Coming down towards the 3-minute trend line, breaking through the 5-minute trend line.
Two of our 3 minutes down here. One's just a little bit flat. Looks like we are coming into very close on that bottom 3 minute to 45 degrees. Our D bias is softened here. Looks like our C's come in. And those 3 minutes just a little bit off on that bottom one. Looks like it may be coming in on that last arrow. At 30.50, 3C, 3B, and just having target lower. Actually can't, the ladder's not moving here at the moment from the 2-point target. Trying to move it to 3 points. And haven't locked in the 1 point yet. As it moves down here. Hopefully in the background, the ladder has moved it to the 3 points. It's still sitting on error in terms of moving it from that 2-point target. Just ready to lock in this 1 point here. And just took the 1 point there on that 3C. Fives have also turned very close to 45 degrees. I have a pullback here for another 3C opportunity, 3-1. We're in our extras for our non-set of 10. We're in our extras tracking here. If we were to hit a 4-point loss there, then we will just go into true testing. I mean, at that point, we are considering that the market is just not trending at all, and we will continue to track trades, but stop the record keeping there once we hit that 4-point additional loss on the extras. Certainly in an individual setting, once you hit your 4 points or 2 points or 3 points loss, whatever you've determined on the day, you certainly would be wise to stop and recognize that the trending is not there. At the time, 5-3, if we do see a red arrow, of course we do track into the extras as well, but we'll also recognize that that is the case here as well. Here we are moving into or below this 28.75 level, and if it moves through the 1 point here, we'll look to give it a little bit of time to move down further before locking that in. But 5-3 with the C very strongly there, did tap on 1 point, didn't open up. It did open up there momentarily. It's tapping on 5 ticks. And just took the 1 point there on that 5-3. pullback here. See our ones turning here upward still. D thickly in the red. E starting to angle down, tick starting to turn. A bias angle down nicely. We do have 5-3, 5A on the next red arrow. I'd like to see these ticks turn down with a little bit more certainty. Of course, our ones turning up may give this of an impact upward here. Certainly our E bias angling up. It's angled down now, but volume's turning. And this could press up higher even to 31.25 area. Come off on that 1 5-minute slightly, so we don't have the base 5 until that bottom 5-minute gets back to 45 degrees. Do still have the 3s. C bias needs to angle down a little bit more. If we do see a scalp downward, can consider that. EK may come in downward. E starting to spike down with the K starting to attack. That 1 5-minute went green. And nothing on that signal. C a little bit flat and 45. And that EK did not come in. Could see our volumes turn here. Looks like our C might be flashing back to 45 degrees but not holding. Again, have not seen a pullback here for a base 3. We can see a scalp downward. Not yet coming in. Our 3 minutes are down nicely, greater than 45 degrees. Again, not really a pullback here, and don't really have a scalp to consider for this 3C. Come down here to this 27 low, bounced here again. Someone's asking about a 3C, but we haven't had a pullback. Had the 3C come in on the third and fourth, or second and third arrow. Do you need to see a pullback, though? You even see a volume E, and a little bit of a pullback there. Not the strongest of pullbacks. Volume EK. And there's an arrow there for our 3C. And again, I've moved down quite a bit since that initial start of the move at 29. And that 5-minute went back to red, though not angled. 28.50, it's our 2-point stop, can't move it from there. Pulled back a little bit further there, still in this 3C. There was a more of a truer pullback in that sense, or a better view of a pullback with a retracement and an opposite arrow. If you're waiting for that white arrow as a pullback, then that's come in. You can look for the next red arrow on the 3C. See the tick starting to turn. You may see another arrow come in here shortly. 110 minutes starting to turn red. C still 45 degrees. There's another arrow. It's good to see that. It's good to see the turn in the tick and the volume angling down. Need to see this move through the 25.75 level. 1 point is at 25.50. Still hovering in this range here. See our ticks started to move up again. Volume flattened. And very quickly just got taken out there as that C went flat and it pushed up there. Interesting, we have a 5-3 with the B bias and the 5A. Look at this as a pullback for that. And may come right back down again here. There's a sell right there in terms of that 5-3, 5A. And this may be the move that we wanted to see the last couple of times as it attempted at the 25.75 level, as the ones and the volumes begin to turn as well. Again, tapped on the 1 point here. If you're just setting and forgetting, the 1 point would have filled. I'm looking here for a bit of a bigger move down here through that level. Did tap down to 25.25 very briefly. And look to lock in one. Yep, just got taken out there at that 1 point on the pullback. Actually thought that was going to move down substantially quicker there. And that the 1 point would have been a nice trail entry. However, look to get back in again.
Sometimes
next red arrow.
these pullbacks can be anywhere from a point to 3, 4. We've even seen 5-point pullbacks today, or moves in the opposite directions.
Setting free head at a 2-point target would have filled that right at 25.25, but we do have a pullback here. 5A, 110 minute still, it's turning red. Looking for the next red arrow.
We see at the 25 spot, see several candlesticks coming down to that area, the 3 and 5 minute charts. Even the 10-minute chart has been a bounce spot several times earlier today, coming up to the 3-minute trend line. Of course, 29.25 is a point of resistance as well as 30. Let's see how this materializes. Just tap through our 30-point of resistance. It's a nice 5-point move up. We talked earlier when we were in that 5A going down how we set our stop, locked in a point profit. You don't know sometimes how big these moves in the opposite direction can be. It can come back just a point and then push down again, or it can come back further.
Lost our 5s and our 3s are now flat. We can consider scalps downward, but at the moment the market is pushing up on these strong information. No longer the base 5, even the base 3 is now gone at the moment.
Interesting, that A bias has come in nicely upwards. Just a few moments ago with that new 10-minute candlestick being plotted.
Threes are still angled down, so we still have the scalp downward if something does come in. Volume's turning. That's about all that we see right now. I also see the C bias angling down, so if we do get 45 angle again on the 3s, we may have a 3C. At the moment, scalp downward, volume E. There was a signal that did come in for a scalp on a volume E. 3-tick target from 29, 28, 25 is the 3-tick target on the volume E. See, those 3 minutes have come back to 45 degrees, but don't have that on the C or the D. So just still looking at this as a scalp with the volume E. I just filled the 3 ticks on that volume E scalp. Do have still a volume E. We do have 3 and the C that's in place now. For a 3C we need a pullback, but we could see a scalp here that we could look to transition to the base 3. We're not seeing another scalp setup in place yet. And it's dropped another 2 points, I guess. It's out at 28.25. So another 2 points it's dropped here. Having a pullback here now. Still with this 3C at the moment. 5's not yet 45 again. Real quick move up there as quickly as we came down, back up 3 points. So white arrow for a pullback. Bottom 3 minute maybe starting to soften again. Still maybe just on 45 degrees on that 3 minute. Again, we are mindful of the 3 minutes heading toward a possible turn and the kind of 3 effect that that can have. Maybe starting to see that as that C is softening a bit more. The fact that the C bias, as that 3 is softening, the fact that the C bias still is remaining down, though it looks like it's starting to flicker soft as well. So do have a scalp potential downward. And if the 3's straighten out again, which they may be doing, 3C.
Even 5-3.
Even 5-3. Good observation. 5-3, 5C.
5s were strong after that last 5 minute candlestick plotted.
I'm going to be mindful of those 3 minutes. If they turn, and it has, could be having more of a 3 effect upward here.
Seen them being a leading indicator the past little while as they turn. Just as the EKs come in, actually EK is coming in right now upwards.
Don't have it as a scalp because the 3's now they're starting to turn.
Both of them are green.
EK backed off upward. Well, the 3 minutes both turning green, we can start to consider scalps upward ahead of the 3 minutes coming in with stronger angle. EK starting to, and it backed off. I don't think we had the F there at that point in time. It was a real quick confluence of things there. Close on our volumes. Volume D backed off. 1's 1C maybe in there. We will need to see the F and that arrow, tick in the arrow. 3 showing both of them angle here at the moment. And a 6-point pullback off of that 25 level. So 1 volume, 1C. The F looks like it might be spiking here a little bit. It's backed off. Ones have gone slightly flat. We do have volumes that are still 45 degrees. Close on the 3 minutes. The bottom one's 45, top one's not there yet. C bias is 45, so we need to see some adjacent pairings here. 1's are flat, Top 3 is still flattish. Fives are 45 degrees downward, but nothing to pair that with, A, B, or C. Of course, you do have the 3 minutes turning. Part of the whole move up there from the 2650 is the 3 effect as it was turning up. Still have volumes upwards, so we may be able to see, and we have our 3s up nicely. We've lost the C bias. We do have the volume E spiking in. We can see the F and then a white arrow. 3 minutes are certainly agreeable with this. Volume's flattening here slightly. Volume E, again the F not there. Did have an arrow and a push, or a push and an arrow I should say. Volume E, 3D, but we need to see a pullback for that. We may be able to, and there's a scalp entry there. We do have the 3D that has come in as well here, so being able to transition and hold this scalp on the basis of a 3D, or you can just keep your 3-tick target for the scalp. Just hold the 2-point stop as is at 30.25. Next point of support is down at 29, far too far to pull that stop back. D is backed off, so still holding this in terms of the original scalp at the 3-tick target. Volume E still flashing in till we see a scalp in the other direction that manifests. We still continue to set and forget on the scalp. A lot of movement here. Don't see a scalp yet in the other direction, close to an EK, so we still are setting and forgetting on this original scalp that became a 3D that went back to a scalp. Back to our break even here. This is pressing like it wants to move through. And just filled the 3 ticks there on that scalp. It's actually coming into a 3D now after the fill there. Can look for another scalp entry. Do have volumes that are close to being 45 degrees with that D. Again, that means that we can target the scalp entry as a base 3. The D has come off. C is still there though. Going sideways here, about 3 or so candlesticks, seeing our volumes begin to turn. We may see an EK downward, and that may give us a little bit more of a pullback. And a little bit of a pullback there, if we want to call that sideways consolidation a pullback. More of a weaker version, but we are still pressing higher here. So if there is another white arrow on a 3C, as the C still remains 45 degrees, and in the course of that, looking for a bigger pullback to really accentuate the next first white arrow. Volumes are turning, so that may give us at least a few more candlesticks of consolidation sideways. Let's see how that impacts our C bias. Our 1s are in a position to start to turn down as well. Ticks are moving down. There's an opposite arrow, which is our pullback, bigger defined pullback with that opposite arrow. So 3C still there. We may pull back here a little bit further. See what kind of impact that has on our C bias. Still have the 3C, so we can look for the next white arrow. Have a minute until our 5 minutes and our 3 minutes replot. Pressure here without seeing an arrow here moved up 2.5 points already. You may see an arrow very, very quickly, though. The market is moving fast. You need to be ready with your mouse on your ladder. Just lost audio connection there for a brief moment, but we are back. Actually having an EK downward, so this may give us another pullback. Volumes turning. Ones are still at the top. Still have thicker D and E, though they are coming down. RF is in red. C bias looks like it has flattened somewhat from 45 degrees. So we wait for another scalp in terms of an upward scalp or a base 3. 10s are not yet 45 degrees and our 5s are conflicted. You can see with that last scalp, we didn't have an opposite scalp setup come in, so we transitioned from the scalp to the base 3, lost the base 3 back to the scalp, still had the 3-tick target. Set and forget unless we had an opposite scalp setup come in which case that would be reason to exit. Ultimately filled those 3 ticks and the resurgence upward. I know that might have been a little harrowing, but just following along on those rules removes that, at least the emotional component from it. Seeing the F spike here a little bit, nothing on that arrow. Was no scalp upward. Wasn't a base 3 either. C may be coming back to 45 degrees. We've already had a first arrow, so we will need to see a scalp. EK may be coming in here and backed off. Here's the move that we wanted to see with a true 3C in place. Didn't have the C in place though. C is there now. Let's see if there's a scalp that can come in upward, and nothing there. Do have the 3D, 3C, no scalp. Again, someone's talking about a 3D. I just went through that whole process. We didn't have anything on the first, even the second arrow. We were looking for a scalp. We didn't see a scalp. The market moved in and of its own accord. We don't jump in without some manner of pullback. That's oftentimes chasing the market. We don't want to do that. Have a bit of a pullback here. Weaker version of a pullback, but we do have one starting. See, our C and our D are now lost. So you can see just with the emotion at play in the market right now, some of the setups are coming in post-move, and then the setups are dissipating. If you try to jump in even late, you end up chasing the market, you lose the setup, you have to exit perhaps even at a loss. We want to see things, especially in an emotional market, line up as nicely as we can. Still have the possibility of a scalp upward with those threes. And we'll look for a scalp upward. Another push emotion in the market to that 36. No scalp. No base 3. 10 minutes are still not in play. In fact, we are seeing the ones now turn. Finally, they've been struggling at the top there for about 10 minutes, looking to turn. Of course, the volume is moving down. Of course, that we did have a push up on a strong D and E that came in. Now we have one volume D, E, F, all downward here. Nothing in terms of the way we're tracking the scalps today in agreement with the threes, not a scalp to consider downward. We do look at that as a pullback in terms of something that can come in upward. Both 5 minutes look like they've gone green. Again, another emotional move in the market. Jump up here, almost 2 points. You may see an EK move in upward here. We do have the 3 minutes in that direction. EK starting to come in upward. We do have the tick in agreement. K did back off. Nothing on the base 3 as of yet. We may see a volume E. We're willing to see that F move up here. Again, that EK did back off, with the K not crossing. Volume E, EK may be coming in again. This may be in line of a push here. And the K and the E both backed off. In terms of our base 3, if something does come in, we'll need to see a little bit of consolidation at the very least for a pullback after already having that white arrow. Volumes are angling up nicely. Here's that push up that we could sense was coming. Let's see if that volume E spiking now. And if there is, well, there's a white arrow that did just come in for that volume EK. Again, a 3-tick target, nothing around the base 3 to transition to. 36 is a point of resistance. Again, unless we see a scalp setup come in the other direction, we are just setting and forgetting at the 3-tick target. 33.75 is our stop. 32.75 is the next point of resistance. Can't move the stop back to there. Too much of a stop. Volume E, K spiking in again here. Let's see if there's another push here to move us up through that 3-tick level. Did touch on 2 ticks, didn't empty out at the 2 ticks. It is a tick above the 36. Nothing on the 3s here to transition to. Flat C, flat B coming close on the 5-3. Both of those went flat again with the B and the C. Again, just touching on the 2 ticks. Very close to breaking out. If it doesn't, it may just pop right back down again. Don't have an opposite scalp setup, so we are still setting and forgetting at the 3 ticks. And just filled on the 3 ticks there. See our 5s now in 45 degrees. 3s may be weakening here at the top. Again, we could be facing a turn approaching. Our 5 minutes have just plotted, conflicted. Could be facing a turn now in our 3 minutes. Popped through that 36 by a few ticks and then has just quickly dropped down. So we may be seeing an advanced indication with the C bias turning down and those 3s flattening near or at the top of their cycle of a turn ultimately in the 3 minutes, with the start of the 3 effect being felt. And let's watch for that. We do still have 3 minutes that are green, so we can still consider scalps upward, but we are aware of the impact those 3 minutes, the turn that could be approaching, could have. See a red eye attack coming in. Don't often look at that, but there is a strength of perpendicular attack, red over green, that may be approaching, that could signal a real immediate burst of momentum downward, potentially. See one of the 3 minutes now red. So we are in a bit of a limbo here until we see agreement in the 3 minutes at the very least for scalps, or something in the bigger base setups. We don't have 45 in the 10s. Well, we have 45s right now coming close in the 3s, and we can consider a scalp downward. We have 1D close also on a 3-1. We're at the bottom of that range, 32.75, and then 31.50, 31 below that. One E, still need that F. 1D. Three minutes are close after this drop down. Even looks like we have a 3-1 and a bit of a consolidation slash pullback there at 33.50. We need to see this scalp come in strongly here as well, or see another pullback there. The 3 minute has come off 45 degrees, but we still have 3 minute reds for a scalp if one does come in downward. Threes are back again at 45 degrees. 3B looks like it is in place on the next red arrow. See 45 degrees on that B bias. We've had a slight pullback here to 33.25. And there's and just ended up getting in twice. I'll just exit one of the trades here. So looking at this as a 3B, tracking from 32. Again, as it moves through this level, we'll look for 1 point lock in. It moved through that very quickly, actually. If you had a set and forget at the 1 point, that would have filled. We have a bit of a challenge with our ones starting to soften here. And to tap again very briefly on the 1 point. Three B still strong. Move down. I just took the 1 point there on that 3B as the B went flat. And again, in this kind of market, if you just want to set and forget, I see a question here, and it was a few minutes ago, do we look for agreeable tick? The tick, by necessity, needs to be agreeable. It doesn't need to be 45 degrees. We'll look for a nice angle on the F bias. So we have our scalp pairing, whatever it may be, one volume, 1E, whatever it may be, with the tick agreeable in color and a strong angle being present at the moment of the signal in the F. That's the, of course, with the agreeable 3 minutes. That's the approach we're tracking here today for scalps. In terms of the 4 scalps tracked in that fashion today, all 4 of them have paid off for 3 ticks. So in that sense, we're tracking 4 for 4 with the 3 minutes in agreement. We do have that again here. Nothing on the base 3 at the moment. Could come in with 45 degrees on the 3-minute ergodics. See our ticks beginning to move down and our Fs. Let's see if a scalp does come in. Nothing on the B, nothing on the C, nothing on the D. Well, the D now starting to show some angle, so we may see 45 degrees on the D bias for 3D. We don't have a first red arrow yet. If we do see that without the B bias being, there's B bias being 45 degrees. Just came in there on that arrow at, well, 30.25. Tapped again on the 1 point, but not enough to even set and forget on a fill. 3D still spiking down. See, the 5 minutes have actually come in at 45 degrees with a slight C bias. So we can even continue to look at this 3D as a 5-3. And if we can look to lock in 1 point at 29.25. Just hovering in this range here. Still about 3 or so points away from the 10-minute trend line being a point of resistance. $32.25 is our 2-point stop. There's no basis to move that back on. And Still have slight angle on our C in terms of, and losing the 5-3 here. So just had to take a 5-tick loss there with the D bias gone at 5-minute flashing into the green. So 5-tick loss on that 3D transition to the 5-3. Sorry, 5-tick loss. I may have said 3-tick. So we had some strong turn in the ones, the volumes, the E, and the F with the tick. Those were all the reasonings behind that real quick push-up change in the 3 or 5 minute. Still have 3 minutes down, so we can still look for a scalp downward. And for our base threes, I know we've had a few of them today, and a couple of them we got more than a point on in terms of being able to just trail it, but I think we'll, for the base threes anyway, we'll just target a point on a set and forget basis. EK starting to come in downward. I think on the couple that we did lose on, we would have filled there at the 1.3D coming back in again on the next red arrow. Move down here a couple of points already without seeing it. There's an arrow that did come in at 30.50, and just targeting the point there on the 3D. And D bias is now gone, and my ladder's not functioning there. Tried to get out at 2 ticks, which was open. Just had to flatten and got out at 3 ticks on that. Sometimes when your ladder doesn't function, sometimes there is transmission errors, and flatten is your next best alternative. A flatten button put me out at a tick worse than what I would have been able to get had it functioned on the ladder itself, but there's not much you can do when there is electronic or transmission errors. So nothing here for us except a scalp downward, and there's nothing there yet for that. That last base 3 downward, of course the market had moved 3 points before seeing that arrow come in. So you often like to see arrows come in without or before the market starts to move, though we have seen the market continue to move even with an arrow coming in after the move has started. But my preference always is seeing the arrow come in before the move begins to happen, before the strength of the cycle begins to be felt. We still track the setups as they come in on the first arrow in that last case. Again, it looks like we're building a stronger stair step upward here on the heels of these scalp charts. Ones being strong, ticks agreeable with that on this last push upward. And we make them back into a base 3 downward again. 3D, make them right back in again. And we see the ticks beginning to move down, maybe even the volume starting to turn. Still some pressure upward here, looking like with the 1 minutes. Keep an eye on that D bias. And it's flat. Even ticking up. See the C bias angling up here, but nothing to work with that. We do have 1C upward, but we're looking to track scalps with the 3 minutes. We may see a volume E come in downward. Let's see if that does transpire. We do have the 3 minutes downward. .45 degrees pretty much there in the volumes and the E now. There's a sell arrow in terms of that scalp, just with a 3-tick target for the volume E. Ones look like they're starting to turn here. Coming close on that D, but it just filled my 3 ticks before seeing that D come into 45 degrees for a 3D transition. So we will look for another scalp opportunity, but the volume E did work for 3 ticks there. We need to see a pullback here for our 3D or a scalp. So we have the volume E, volume D. We have that F bias just flat. You may see it angle down here, in which case we can look to even. There's another angle down in that F, just as the ticks turn green. So that was there just on that quick moment. We are at the bottom of that range. 3D still there on a transition basis from that scalp, so that's why I'm targeting a point and not 3 ticks. See if this can move through the 29.25 level. We filled the 3 ticks there. If we had just kept it as a 3-tick target. And D bias flattened here, not able to transition out of it, so just took a 3-tick loss. Interesting there with that scalp. Would have worked just on the scalp itself. Hit on the 1 full point, but would have filled the 3 ticks, but with the transition to the 3D and a 1-point target, just touched on the 1 point, ended up with a 3-tick loss on that. Interesting. Just on that transition of things, just the 1-tick difference. Still have our 3s down. Can't look for a scalp or a base 3. Nothing here. We may see the D come in at 45. I haven't seen a first red arrow. And you can see the D at 45 though. Volume EEK may be coming in downward. So again, on a scalp basis with the 3 minutes agreeable, the D bias very close here to 45. There it is, spiking down to 45 there. EK on the next red arrow. And the EK did back off one volume right there. With the 3-tick target. And one volume has actually come off here. And just having to exit there at 3 ticks down with the loss of the D and the E bias. Both of them went against that one volume. Operating in a very tight range here this last while. Had some work with us here and some work against us on this. Again, 10s and 5s conflicted. 10s have been conflicted pretty much the whole morning, or at least flat. 5s have not been that much better since about 11 o'clock. We've got our D back again here. 3D. And 5s now have both gone red. So let's see if there's a scalp downward on the basis of the 3s being in agreement. Seeing our 5s now coming into 45 degrees as well. Good transitionist scalp here. We have an EK on that last arrow. E still spiking downward. 3D is there in a transition, but just very quickly pulled off and having to just exit that transition 3D at a 1.5 down. So tight range here for the last 15 minutes, and just setups that come in but just kept tight and then backed off. Part of this exercise is just looking to exit when you have to without holding or hoping if you've lost the setup, as we did in that transition 3D. Actually 3 of them now in a row that have just transitioned and had to exit that with the loss of the setup. You just have to get out. Still have our scalp permission downward with the 3 minutes. May see an EK come back in downward again, just in this tight range here for about 15 minutes. And it's taken a little bit of toll on trending here. 1.5 million contracts almost traded today. So your 3 is starting to flatten here. That may be an indication of a 3 effect or a bigger turn in the market here upward. C is still angled down. Bottom 3 minute is not 45 degrees. So we can only look for scalps downward. Strong EK upward with the volumes. See more of a flattening on the 3 minutes, so this may be an indication of a bigger turn here, or at least a 3 effect turn. See the C bias starting to flatten. One's turning up. Last scalp or last 3D, I was down 1.5. Question about holding scalps until there's an opposite scalp setup. We did transition the last couple of scalps to a base 3, and then if we lose the base 3, that's a reason to exit that base 3. But yes, if it is just a scalp, we would look to hold in terms of today's activities on the basis of looking for an opposite scalp to come in before exiting. See our 5 starting to turn up here now. Press through the 3175 level. See the 5s, or sorry, the 3s starting to flatten a bit more. We may see a scalp downward here, EK coming in, perhaps with the, I don't see the F spiking here, nor is the K attacking across yet. Let's see if, and we've got the 3 minute that's green, so no longer the scalp permission downward. Unless we see those 5 minutes come into 45-degree angle upward. We are in a little bit of a limbo. There's a 3 minute starting to flash back to red. We would like to see, obviously, that hold. Looks like that has moved down a few more ticks from that initial drop. Three minute coming back to red, though it is flat. One of the earlier scalps that we did have had a transition to a base 3, lost the base 3, still had a scalp. We were able to transition back to that and then held that on the basis of set and forget, waiting for an opposite scalp to come in. And I believe that one actually did fill the 3 ticks eventually. This last one we didn't have a scalp to transition back to. Pressing up here again. Conflicted in our 3s, 10s, though there was a flash of the 10s to red. 5 minutes, one of them's 45, but the other one's not. See what happens in the next 5 seconds on our 3 minutes if they replot with a little bit. There's the 3s in green, so we can consider scalps upward here. We do have the volume E. Don't have the F in agreement yet. We can look for scalps upward. The 5 minute went red, so they're back to being conflicted. 5 minutes have been very poorly defined in the last hour. We do have close to a volume. Well, the volumes have backed off. Base 3s were close to 45 on the top one. Not there yet. And our last 4 minutes here. Moving down here, our 3s are up, so nothing for us.
Interesting, the volume EK is coming down without the 3s agreeing. So come into our final couple of minutes. Still continuing to stay in this tight range. A minute and a half left in our session. Even one DE pattern coming in without the 3 minutes, without the tick. Bit of F coming in. Point and a half consolidation. Sharp E bias coming in. One E without the tick, without the F. Just talking about the one volume E, just talking about the patterns. Longer term, this is the things that we need to identify, different components. Threes, there's one of them starting to turn red. Tens and 5 are both red now. As we're coming back down to the 10-minute trend line. Of course, we've bounced off the 29, 28, 75 a bunch of times in the past 20 minutes, half hour. And as we roll into our last few seconds, our tracking period will be over. Our E is backed off. One volume has come in nicely. Darren's just tallying our score here. I think Darren's almost finished tallying up her score here for the day. Just before he gets that, we just had one last comment question here that came in. Someone wasn't as clear about our entering and exiting trades. For example, we're entering now or exiting now. Oftentimes we talk about the setups and we're waiting for the appropriate arrow to come in. When we have a setup, we wait for the arrow to come in and we try our best to say we are looking for the next arrow, or there is a setup, we're waiting to get in. There's different things we say. Maybe we can try to be more clear. We also have the ladder up on the side to help with that as well too. If someone may be a little unclear, certainly see the trade being entered on the ladder, but we will certainly do our best to sometimes the market's moving quick as well, and the setup comes in quickly and the arrow comes in. Sometimes you don't have a chance to fully say what we are doing for tracking purposes, but we will be mindful of that. And Darren, do you have your score here ready for the day?
Yeah, I do. Again, yeah, just reiterate what you said there, Greg. I mean, there is we are, when we are looking for the setup is in place, we're looking for the arrow. I think I was pretty mindful to be on that throughout the course of the day, looking for the next red arrow or white arrow, right arrow, whatever it may be. When it comes in, that's the indication of the arrow that we're looking for. And of course, you see that being entered on the trading ladder as well. In terms of exit, I've talked about that in terms of particularly with the scalps, setting and forgetting at the 3 ticks, and you can see that being filled on the ladder, or if there was an opposite setup that came in, just exiting that. And I do say what exit I come out at, whether it's 2 ticks down, 1 tick up, whatever it may be, even with the base 3s and the 5s and the 10s as well. I do comment on that. So just practice and be mindful in terms of we're forecasting the the setups being in place and then looking for the arrow. We do speak about that. So just continue to practice and watch for that. Watch for these patterns, get used to them as well, so you can see the setups and you can look for the arrows in the appropriate fashion without even really relying on Greg or I or even the ladder to see what's going on there. We're certainly dropping here on this base 10.5, almost a 10.5 here it looks like, Greg. At any rate, we had our regular session, regular tracking done early on in terms of the first 3 trades. EK, we were up 3/4 of a point, and then we had 2 3Bs that went against us for 5.5 points down, for 4 3/4 points down on the regular tracking. And in terms of our extras, we had 3B up 4 points, 3C down 3 points, 5-3 up a point, 5A up a point, volume E actually up 3 points. That was in the range where a lot of those set and forget scalps did work out, even though there was some movement in the course of that trade activity. Ended up tracking 4 volume E's there for 3 ticks each for 3 point total. 3D, as we got into the last 20 minutes, we got it at, that tight range, and did have several 3Ds that came in once the move started happening with the signal, and then having to exit with the loss of that setup. So we're down 4 1/4 points on the 3Ds, and 1 volume down 3/4 of a point. So we're up 1 point in the extras, down 4 3/4 point in our regular tracking, so down 3 3/4 points overall in the day.
Thank you everyone for being here today. Again, if you're on, watch for nice angles on the ergs and the biases, 45-degree angles on the ergs and the biases for setups. As Darren mentioned, a nice 10.5 has come in. We'd like to see a bit of a pullback. We are also mindful that we're at a spot where we've bounced off this several times today, but if it can push through here, we could have a bigger drop coming up. Thanks, Darren, for your great commentary today, as always, and practice on your trading ladders. Remember the setups, even go over the videos if you're unfamiliar with the different setups terminology that we're using. They can be very helpful, and be mindful of everything that we were doing, and just being able to identify the patterns and the setups quickly. Some of them do come in quickly. Looking longer term possibly here just before we sign off for a possible setup 10. The A bias is flat, and again, we are at a point we've bounced off several times today, but the 10.5 has come in nicely, so it'd be interesting to see how this plays out going forward. Have a great day. See everyone back.